radiating from the Lone Star State and stretching from coast to coast and border to border. This is On Radio, the weekly download from your family of companies: CMS Wireless, Enertech, ET Tower, Legacy, and Mountain Wireless. Welcome to On Radio.
Well, you know, one of the things that people don't understand is that what we're for, what we're for is the delivery of service to bridge the digital divide. And frankly, as contractors, we're kind of technology neutral. And the reason we are is we do last mile fiber to cell sites. We do fiber to the home. We understand that broadband is only described by speed and latency. That's the only thing that should define broadband. And there are many delivery methods, including both wireless and fiber. So we're all in the same camp here. But there's a good news story that you talked about in terms of wireless, and that's again, who can be against safety, connectivity, and 80% of the calls that happen to 911 come from the good
wireless
guys. Yeah.
That's right.
So as we move forward, WIA is going to help get the story out about that good news. And how is that happening in DC?
Well, it's DC and in the States. It's happening through our regular communications with FCC staff and FCC commissioners. You know, I had a call with Commissioner Carr this morning. And the reason we do that is just to remind them about what the industry is doing. It's going to happen through educational efforts. So our Hill team works very regularly across the aisle. Again, doesn't matter who you are, Republican, Democrat. We're trying to educate you on what value the wireless industry is bringing, and also the infrastructure providers, and the fact that none of this is possible without the infrastructure companies that are out there. So it's a constant dialogue and discussion with the right people who are determining communications policy in DC. Friday I have a call with Alan Davidson, head of NTIA. The reason I'm having that call is because he needs to understand the story I was just talking about in terms of fixed wireless. Again, there, you know, where NTIA is really leaning in hard on fiber, and I want to reiterate, it's not about fixed wireless is better than fiber is better than fixed wireless. It's all of these technologies are really important technologies, and they all serve an important role, and there's a time and a place for different technologies. And so just kind of reiterating that message to him is something that we have been doing and will be doing. And it does trickle down to the states too. So we've been having very regular meetings with the broadband office directors in states across the country, trying to just meet with them one-on-one, educate their teams about who we are, what our industry is, what we do, why we do it, and what it enables. And then again, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about the communications piece of all of this, which is, if people don't understand what we do or why we're doing it or what it enables, then they're more easily persuaded when somebody comes in and says, well, this isn't a good technology, or we don't need another tower, right? Yeah. Or we don't need a small cell. Well, if they come at it understanding everything that it empowers that they don't even necessarily realize, then it's a different conversation.
Yeah. And we in the telecom industry need to just look back and say, without exception, the telecommunications industry has always done the best right thing. Because whether you be a tower owner, a REIT, or a contractor or a carrier, we all have a common goal, and that is not only to bridge the digital divide, but using the best methodologies. And so we salute what you're doing there. One of the things that we're going to play, it's a little game we play at On Radio, is I'm going to say a word or a phrase, and tell us about the first thing that comes to your mind. And it's kind of fun, and you'll have editorial privilege, so don't be too scared. All right. It's not an FCC microphone. Let me drop some bombs on you for starters. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Online education.
Essential for educating and getting the younger generations interested in what we do, and something that WIA is actually spending a lot of time. So we have about 40 courses, and they're not all e-learning yet. They will be, because I think it's important that we have real-time access to online education. It's also completely enabled by our industry, right? So this whole notion
and proof
of
tested during COVID.
Yeah. So look, my kids did it from the dining room. That was the best part about COVID was I got to learn more about one of my younger sons because I could see him in action in class. It was actually pretty cool.
Right on.
Online education doesn't exist without the wireless industry.
All right. Next phrase. You ready? Smart cities.
Need more of it. The potential is there. I've been hearing about this for a long time, and I feel like we're getting closer as we densify our networks and as people start to understand the benefits of making effectively everything have a connection to wireless. But we're not there yet, and I think we need to get there.
All right. Sounds good. And the politics aside, we are actually delivering those all over the country. How about telehealth?
Well, I've seen it firsthand, not directly because I don't look at the screen, but with my wife as a doctor doing it from home. And it's fantastic. You know, what it really enables too is a lot of times people will not do what they're supposed to do after they leave the hospital. And so you're not going to get these people to come back into the hospital. And so it really allows the doctors to communicate with their patients and make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they're able to do it because it's a lot easier to just pull up your wireless phone, and a lot of times it really is your smartphone, not your computer.
Yeah.
And it's that patient care is just absolutely improving. And also, look, you said you're from South Dakota. You can drive 4 hours. No.
Yeah, rural healthcare.
If you have a broadband connection at home, you're going to be able to, talk to your doctor. Maybe you don't need to drive 4 hours. Maybe you do, and you need to get in your car right away. But they'll let you know. So I think it's fundamentally important, and it's another one of those benefits that we enable.
Outreach is about reaching out, and this is certainly what that does with telehealth. But how about when you get into an urban environment and you get to factory floors?
Yeah. So, automation on the factory floors, whether it's private LTE network or whatever the technologies that they're using, just increasing productivity, increasing efficiency, all of that drives economic growth, creates, in our country, and I think that's critical.
Sure. How about agriculture?
Precision agriculture. The amount of data that's coming off of a John Deere tractor in 2022 is unbelievable.
Isn't that cool?
I don't know you probably have. Have you been in one of these? It's like a giant computer at this point.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
So it's phenomenal, but you can produce as much data as you want, but it doesn't really make any sense if it's just getting, downloaded to a hard drive in the tractor, and then you have to take it somewhere else to actually use the data. But being able to do it in real time, soil levels, water levels, right, and managing all of that, it's just massive productivity increases, which, feeding the American people is a pretty important task. Another thing that we're enabling. But keep coming.
Feeding the world from the breadbasket is really hard when you have to plug fiber into the tractor, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
All right. So what about autonomous vehicles? Speaking of vehicles, it just comes up, autonomous vehicles, and everybody paints a horrific picture about the future, but it's really not accurate, is it?
No, I don't think so. Look, it's just technology, and I would love to have autonomous vehicles, all over Arlington, where I'm sitting right now. And I think the technology's there. But again, it requires being online and connected all the time, right? Like we need to have a ubiquitous network in order for it to work. So the manufacturing is being done. The research and development is being done. What we need to make sure we have is, connectivity that never lapses throughout the journey of that autonomous vehicle. And that's what we're empowering. So
ubiquitous and redundant, right?
Yeah, and redundant. That's right.
Yeah. And I know that from piloting aircraft, if you want something to work all the time, you better have a good backup. And that really speaks to wireless plus fiber. And that really speaks to the redundancy and also the robust networks that are required these days. Because if you pick up the phone and it doesn't work, a lot of times that's Panicville, isn't it?
Yeah, but the good news is it usually does work, in terms of the reliability of our networks, which is a testament to the membership within WIA and the entire ecosystem.
Yeah, our disaster recovery in the United States on the telecom side, not necessarily anything other than telecom and public space safety, has been nothing short of phenomenal. Speaking of that, you've got a long history in public safety. Is there any update as to where we're at these days?
That's a very broad question, but I think a couple things. One, I think we're getting more and more accurate when it comes to locating 911 callers. through the traditional efforts of the carriers, through some new device-based location technologies that are being deployed, through technology that's enabling you to find people using on the z-axis or the height where you are within a building. So there's just constant improvement and development on the 911 side. Obviously, through the deployment of FirstNet and other wireless communications networks that are competing, I think we're increasingly seeing smarter communications technologies in the hands of first responders. We've moved past just traditional push-to-talk radio. That's still important, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of data out there that's really helping them do their job. So, I think it's just like the rest of our ecosystem, where it's just constantly innovating, constantly developing in a positive way.
Well, that's awesome. And tip of the cap would be appropriate then to the Safer Buildings Coalition and some of the things they're doing, which is incredible. So
had a great conversation with John Foley from the Safer Buildings Coalition this week. I told you I've been traveling a lot. I'm talking to everybody.
Awesome.
And we're getting together to talk about the work that they're doing and how we can work together.
Yeah, and it really is a different place than it used to be, because I see all these trade associations that are working together to bring all these important things into reality and to bridge that digital divide. So speaking of that, we've got a group that we put together called TATE, or the Telecommunications Against Trafficking and Exploitation. And we put together a no-cost training program for our folks out in the field to recognize human trafficking. And we made that available, and some of your members at WIA have really embraced it and put their employees through this free training. And I'm gonna make you aware of that and have somebody send you a link so you can actually go through the training. We want to redo it. We want to re-up on it, because our folks are out there. They're everywhere. They're all the places that this happens in everybody's backyard. But I'm going to ask you at some point to join us on an advisory council so we can have real world, real life input to this TATE initiative. So final thing I want to talk to you about before we let you go is Nolans. So if I said New Orleans, you'd know that I was an idiot. So I'm going to say Nolans. And that
are we doing word
really
association? ConnectX, May through May 10th. You have to be there.
Oh, really? May through May 10th. See, our company at Ontivity and your host today of OnRadio is a huge sponsor of ConnectX. And we might even say, hey, well, we should go over and talk to about that TATE Council at ConnectX. So I'll probably hit you up on that too.
So first, let me just say thank you for your support at ConnectX. We greatly appreciate it.
All right. Well, you guys deliver, and you deliver on a continual basis, and we appreciate having the opportunity to speak with our customers, your members, on the floor and in the meeting rooms, because you guys put on a phenomenal conference. We're looking forward to actually meeting you in D.C. and then again in New Orleans in May. ConnectX, be there, folks. So what's next for WIA? What big plans, surprises you got? Give us a scoop here. What's on the future? What's on the horizon?
What's on the horizon is just constant technological evolution and advancement within our industry. What I'm focused on is operational excellence within the association. At the end of the day, we want to have as many companies involved in what we're doing as members come into ConnectX, as an exhibitor, as a speaker, right? And we're going to try to provide as much value as we possibly can. There's two ways we're going to do that. We're going to do that through our advocacy, working with the FCC, working with the Department of Commerce and NTIA, working with Congress, working with the FAA when things need to be addressed with the FAA, which happens at times. And we're going to do that through convening, right? The benefit of our association, if we're doing our job, is advocacy as good or better than anybody else out there, creating opportunities for convening, which is bringing leaders together from industry and government and solving challenges to make everything that we've talked about earlier possible. And third is communications, telling the story of our industry. So, we're just going to be focused on how we can continue to grow as an association and to deliver value for our members. At the end of the day, we have to deliver value for our members. Otherwise, there's no reason for an association to exist. Whether that's our policy advocacy, our workforce development programs, our communications efforts, we're going to wake up every morning thinking, how do we make it easier for Ontivity or any other company that's out there on the infrastructure side as a carrier member to do what they do best, which is build networks and innovate. So that's what we're focused on, just being the best possible association that we can be with the best possible team that is really just focused on delivering for our members.
Well, Patrick, I would like to thank you for a couple of things. Number one, your time today, and number two, your travel recently, but especially for the infusion of energy that you've put into WIA. And we look forward to partnering with you both at the NATE level, at the CTIA level, and at the WIA level, where we always support everybody trying to do the best right thing, which is what we're trying to do at Ontivity. So thanks for your time.
I appreciate that.
Appreciate it, man.
Hey, can I just make two other points?
Please go ahead. Feel free.
So, two things. One, I want to say that one of the things that I have really appreciated over the last, this is my 8th week on the job, traveling around the country from Florida to Colorado to North Carolina, New York, Boston, Houston, DC, Virginia, Maryland, everywhere. And the conversations I've been having, what's really come across loud and clear is the family aspect of this industry. Everybody's not going to agree with each other 100% of the time. That's already been true. However, what's been clear, just talking to everybody who's been in this industry, going back to the 90s, maybe even before that, is just the level of camaraderie and we're all in it together spirit. And I really appreciate it. I really do. And I'm embracing it.
Awesome.
And when we have difference of opinions, that's okay. Let's work together and figure out where we can agree as much as we possibly can.
And we're grateful for that, and grateful for our opportunities to move forward. And we'll be in touch with you. And again, thanks again for your time and your hustle, because it feels like there's a new energy, and we're incredibly appreciative. So take care and make sure to be safe out there.
All right,
like every podcast that we have, we end it this way. We'll talk to you again, folks, next Thursday. But until then, let's choose safety today. This is Jim, and I am out.